Hey, and welcome to the Vergecast for the week of September 2nd, 2013. I'm Josh Topolsky.
Hey.
Hey, Josh.
What's going on?
Hi, I'm
I can
Neeli.
already tell I'm having hair problems.
Oh, God, it's all over.
There we go. Go ahead.
Neeli.
Neeli Patel.
I'm David.
David
Hey, Pierce.
J. Pierce.
That's me.
DP2.
It is J,
DP2.
isn't it?
It is J.
Because I have in your emails are
That's
all.
a good like 3 names. I should go by that. Just
J.
David
Pierce.
J. Pierce.
What's the J
I got
stand
like something's
Joseph.
going on with this. It's like a Kramery situation.
Should I just be
happening with the
David
hair
Joseph
today.
Pierce? Like David Hyde Pierce?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
David
screw
Joseph.
you, I have a longer name.
Yeah. I would put something. I would sub in something a little more prestigious. Joseph doesn't sound-
Xavier.
Xavier.
There you go.
David Xavier Pierce.
DXP.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, DXP.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Extra.
That will make me stop calling you DP2.
extra.
No,
extra.
That's not true.
extra P.
That's not true.
This is the Vergecast where we discuss the week in all sorts of funky goodness.
This week is insane.
This week has been crazy.
This week in funky goodness.
Funky goodness is like I don't know what that is. That's like
What?
I don't know.
It's like a granola bar that like plays a song when you open it.
It's like a granola bar
Yeah, funky
that
goodness.
has a pungent odor, but savory, delicious,
Yeah.
pungent odor. The odor of granola and bars.
Pungent bars.
Pungent bars. Pungent bars.
Yeah.
Anyhow, big week, huge week in like tech news. There was a lot of tech news this week. There was some scandal.
I mean, that's just.
So week started off
Should
with
we
a
just
bang.
start? Can I just start with the Yahoo logo?
Wait. What about Microsoft?
I just wanna
and
get this
Nokia?
out of the
You
way.
don't want to start with Balmer?
I don't. That's like we got to talk about that for a long time.
Can I just say?
I'd like to
don't
explain to them why I'm angry at them.
Before we get into all that, I just want to say, like, at some point we're going to talk about Balmer falling into a table and shrieking, a high pitched shriek emanating. What's happening?
Evan's headbanging. I definitely just saw you like freak out headbanging. What kind of Slayer are you listening to
I
back
don't like
there?
this.
All right. I mean, I just
Okay. Anyhow, let's talk about the Yahoo logo. So
It's
this
terrible.
news broke. This broke last night.
after what 30 days? 30 days.
30 days
They've
of
done
Yahoo.
30 new
By
logos.
the way, I think there are better logos.
I was just
than
going to
that.
say, they had
definitely.
a bunch of pretty cool logos. Like, I think everybody was assuming that it was going to be one of the 30.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was like day 2, I think everybody decided was the best one.
Yeah.
And they
I don't
didn't
think
do a
day
good
2
job.
is the best one at all. I think that the best one is actually like deeper in the mix, but I'm not going to get into that. So here's the thing: it's not a good logo. Okay, look.
Can we get it on the screen?
Can we see the Yahoo logo? Whoa.
Oh yeah, it's this.
They did a video full of things like about why you should care about the logo.
No, this
And
is
by
like-
they, you mean an
this is
intern.
like
An
yeah,
intern
like
at
a
Yahoo.
intern.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
like this, I get what they're trying to do. Like, it's like we have a grid system too, like the Apple iOS 7 video.
Yeah.
But like, this isn't a grid system.
is not a grid. These are
this
just
is just
shapes.
lines,
Yeah.
just flying
they're
lines.
trying to show you how it flows. I mean, to me, this is like funky Gladiator. This is like
It's,
this
so
is like
here-
upbeat Gladiator logo.
I will say this: if they just stopped here, they're gonna get to the other O. If they stopped here, I'd be like, okay, this sucks, but it's not bad. It's as soon as they start adding the bevel effects.
Yeah.
That's like
is this a bevel or a bezel? Bezel
It's a
is
bevel.
Bevel is when it's
like edged out.
Right, there's stuff around
what's the
it.
bezel? A bezel
That's
is
the
also
edge of it.
Edge.
This
That's
is
the
the-
edge of it.
yeah.
Right. Okay. I always get those two
As
confused.
soon
Maybe
as
it's 'cause they're
as soon
one
as they
letter.
start adding the Ultra 90s like bevel effects,
Here's the deal.
The different size O's.
I don't mind.
Forget
the
about
different
the
sizes.
O's. Forget about the O's for a second. But
Can't.
I mean,
never
look at
will.
this. Come on.
so this is it's like, here's the thing. It's not so wildly distinct from the original logo that
Yeah.
a person might even notice, which I think, here's my belief. Now, Marissa Mayer wrote something on her Tumblr, her heinous looking Tumblr, like the worst
Yeah, it's the
theme
worst
that you
Tumblr
can pick
theme.
for Tumblr. She wrote some justification about how she like went to town with Illustrator over the weekend.
She says
or something.
Illustrator, she knows just enough to be dangerous in Illustrator.
Yeah, and that's true.
Which is clearly
that's
true.
clearly
Yeah.
true. I mean, this reminds me of the story of Tim Armstrong, the CEO of AOL.
Yeah.
Unhappy with the front page redesign of AOL, like took matters into his own hands. You know, and it's like, you know what, CEOs typically aren't designers. And I got news for you, Marissa and Tim. You're not Steve Jobs, and you never will be. So stop acting like you have some sense, like you have some sense of design. You want to see my favorite?
Some of these are really
24
cool.
is
Keep
cool.
scrolling.
Yeah, day 24 is all right.
Where? Let me see day 24. Can you turn it more towards me?
It's not the one they should have picked. It's just cool.
Okay, keep going. I'll show you
looks
my.
like- it
I'll
looks
show you
like
my
a-
pick.
Looks
Keep
like
going.
they look for a really cool
Keep
bike
going.
company.
Keep going. Keep going. Oh, you're going backwards. These are at the beginning. I
You
think.
want me to go late? Was it recent?
It was later. It was later. Oh, stop. Go down.
Oh my God, you're killing me.
That one right there.
This one?
No, the one below.
This one?
Yeah, that I think that would have been a really cool.
It's like
Yahoo.
old timey carnival.
It's not. But
Day
it's like
21.
it's like pretty.
That's what
It's
that
pretty
is.
chic, and it sort of modernizes the Yahoo logo. But anyhow, it doesn't matter. What is it? Day 20.
Day 21.
I mean, it would have been out there for them, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been nearly as bad
Let me
as, in
give
my
this to
opinion.
Evan. What's the? Send that to.
So if you go to yahoo.com
Anyhow,
/daily logo.
/daily logo.
the point is, so anyhow, the logo's bad, and a lot of people, by the way, when new logos are released, there's always this like people are like, this sucks.
It looks like if you open iMovie and you're like wedding, and it's the default font for like a wedding video.
Yeah, but here's the thing, there are good logos, and I'm a big fan of Under Consideration, brand new.
Yeah.
And if you read that, I read that every day, and like when there's a new logo and there's sort of a breakdown, and it's great to kind of be thinking about this stuff. When you see new logos that are good, you see them all the time.
Yeah.
They do happen. Like people want to talk about like the Pepsi logo. That one was not good. I actually don't think it was that bad, but it was not that good. But this one is bad. It's a bad logo. It's ugly.
Yeah.
It's dated looking. It is I think confusing. Like it's a confusing message. It's like I said, it's like funky gladiator. It's like this is a great breakdown, by the way, on Under Consideration. It's like weirdly serious and then trying to be playful at the same time.
Yeah.
But the bevel is the worst.
It's the worst thing.
It's the worst part about it. And it's like, and by the way, people talk about the Google logo, and I do think Marissa Mayer was trying to evoke some of what the Google logo evokes. The Google logo, I think, is absolutely terrible. But if you look at the evolution of the Google logo, they have slightly changed it very slightly over time.
They just
and made it
trim the bevel
and
like
made it
every once in a while.
They just like have made it
almost.
less awful. It's bad. Yeah. And you see it's not reflected in any of their new design work. I mean, all of Google's new design work is like, let's get away from the logo as much as possible. So, and it's to their benefit. But I think that, this makes the typography, I mean, it's not good. It just looks like a font.
I mean, I will say when it's smaller, like I'm on yahoo.com right now, which is a strange place to find myself. K-Cup soup is trending on yahoo.com. It's a fun fact.
Yeah. No. What is that? Is that like a soup for a Keurig machine?
Is making soup for a Keurig machine. Yeah, so they give you a thing of broth and a thing of soup, and you put the K-Cup of broth in and then instead of making
that's going to ruin your
K-Cup.
That's going to ruin your...
all it does is just pouring water.
It's going to make your K-Cup machine smell like chicken broth.
Well, yeah, probably.
That's disgusting and horrible.
Isn't that a really tiny amount of soup?
By the way, I got a K-Cup machine
out there.
Probably.
Can we talk about
a cup of coffee?
Whatever. Yeah.
I have one too.
We just got a cake.
Welcome to everyone's parents.
We just got a K-Cup machine, and it is a life-changing, game-changing. This is not an endorsement, but I would be happy to endorse Keurig because it's changed my life.
It's not great coffee, but it is.
It is good.
The easiest coffee ever.
It is good enough.
Yeah,
and it's actually sometimes pretty good.
Sure.
Compared to
what's your cup?
Compared to no coffee.
What's your cup?
I like the Donut Shop.
Yeah,
we both like Donut Shop.
Donut
Shop is very
Donut Shop.
popular. We just ordered some new ones. I also like Nantucket Blend for an evening coffee. It's a little less strong.
Yeah.
God, I'm killing myself. Is there a gun here that I can use to take my own life? Because what I just said makes me sound like I'm 157
Let's talk about something
years
I
old.
needed coffee to deal with. And that you needed coffee to deal with.
Lay it on me, Neeli.
Which is Steve Balmer calling us at 2 a.m.
Steve Balmer called me. He roused me from my sleep.
Yes.
I was nude. I was panicked. I was elated.
Yeah.
So Microsoft bought Nokia's devices and services divisions.
Yes.
Which effectively makes them the owner of the Nokia hardware.
Yep. They bought the smartphone division and the feature phone division.
Yeah. And they also licensed. They bought a bunch of patents, licensed some patents.
Yeah. Well, they bought, as part of the purchase, they bought all the design patents.
Right.
So all the look and feel of Nokia phones they bought. And then all the technology stuff, the GSM, the Wi-Fi, they have a license to that stuff.
There's no Nokia brand that can make an Android smartphone at this point, right?
I mean, there's nothing left.
Right. So they also bought, they did not buy, but they have a license agreement on the Nokia Here services.
Yeah.
Which for 10 years. Which is like, have Nokia's Here service?
No, I don't think that's 10 years. I think that's just forever.
Did I just hallucinate?
Well, the patent stuff is 10 years.
I think that the Here, I thought there was some limit of time.
I think it's 4 years.
No, it's longer than that. At any rate, we're very well informed about the length of the, but they bought a exclusive license.
No, it's not exclusive.
Non-exclusive.
It's 4 years. Not to,
Yeah, it's 4 years.
Okay, fine. You were
So
right.
it's 10 years on the patents, 4 years on the mapping stuff.
Yeah.
And
a
I will say
lifetime of
this,
owning Nokia's hardware
I
division.
know that this is a story that someone on our staff is working on, but Nokia, the remaining part of Nokia, that non-exclusive part, they will make those services for other phones, right? So like for Android and iOS.
Well, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Your dream of having the Lumia 1020
with
Android is gone forever unless you know somebody who can like hack it on there and actually make it usable.
But so is the here stuff really compelling? I mean, we've been.
I don't think it. I don't think it is.
Was part of the initial, like that was part of what Microsoft originally wanted.
I mean, it's on the 1020, right?
Yeah.
I've been messing around with the 1020 the last couple of days because I'm like, all right, well, there's been changes. I'm gonna get the phone out and mess around.
Yeah.
It does have I have to say, it does have a great camera. I don't like the way it takes pictures, but it does have a really great camera. Everything is harder on it. It's crazy. Like I haven't used a Windows phone for a length of time in a while. Everything is harder on it. It's like everything I want to do is more of a pain in the ass. I mean, I do get out and get on with my life, but
No, you don't.
But God, it's such a nice.
You get in. You're
it's such
like,
a
"Where's my
beautiful.
email?"
It's such a beautiful piece of hardware.
It is a beautiful
I mean,
piece of
Nokia. I'll say this: like, good job on buying like a really, really good hardware maker.
Yeah.
I mean, they really know how to make a beautiful phone. Like in terms of design, I don't think anybody, except for Apple, really. I think they're the only people who are truly competing with Apple. I mean, the HTC One is beautiful, but compared to like the new Lumias,
I agree.
Well, and HTC doesn't have a history of doing this. Like they got it right one time. Nokia's been doing it
Nokia,
really well.
I mean,
for a long
HTC has a
time.
history of making nice looking phones, but
But
they've
not to
just
that level.
The latest era is somewhat untested. But anyhow, so this is a huge deal, and we had a chance to speak with. We spoke with Risto. What is it? How do you pronounce his last name?
His last
It's
name.
like
The chairman.
S something. Stephen Elop and Balmer.
Shalasma?
Sure. The night of the event, the night of the news,
Right.
At like literally it was like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And because they were in Finland. And really nobody spoke. Risto said a few things and then Balmer kind of just talked.
Balmer just led the charge. Elop didn't say a word.
What I thought was interesting about our conversation is that he said something to the effect of, "This was not my action,"
Yeah.
which is like, so it kind of suggests that this was not something Balmer wanted to do.
No, I think he wanted. I mean, there's all these accounts of this being Balmer's idea. So the New York Times and All Things D both published essentially the same story about the negotiations, which is odd for a variety of reasons. But it started that Balmer called Risto like last year, and then they had a meeting at Mobile World Congress in February.
Yeah.
And then, because the deal, the Nokia arrangement was about to expire.
Can I just say I really like that this was happening while Google and KitKat were meeting?
Oh, yeah. No, it's amazing.
Just
Yeah,
at
I
the
should
same
say,
time.
I
they're
should
all
say, like,
talking.
I do think, and in that story, hearing the story and what my thinking is on this is that there was a certain defensive maneuver here.
Yeah.
That there was a fear, I think,
that Nokia would leave.
that Nokia would decide, like, you know what, this isn't really working, and if we made Android phones,
We'd be back in the market.
and by the way, I do think if they had made Android phones, they would be back in the market.
Yeah.
I think they could have made. I mean, I think even with HTC they've had some impact with the One.
Yeah.
I see them breaking through. Like, I mean, their market share is going to reflect it for a little bit, but I definitely see ones out on the street, and I haven't seen HTC phones out on the street
One
for a
is
while.
the only phone I've ever been in an airport, like in a public place, and somebody's asked me.
Oh yeah. No, I mean
the time.
I've been asked about it, and Laura has asked about it. We got gas the other day, and the attendant was like, "Hey, is that the one? Let me check it out." And it was like literally like checking out the phone. And I do think so. It is possible. It's like if you just, it's like, oh, here's all the stuff people want software wise.
Yeah.
And then you have a really awesome phone.
And
It's
you
kind
do-
of a
and you do
no-brainer.
that camera, and you know what's
The tough
funny
sell is like untested software, not having the apps you don't want, and then like a brand you haven't cared about in a really long
Right.
time.
And so,
It's tough.
so this news happened. They announced the Nokia Microsoft deal on Labor Day at like midnight.
Yeah.
So I was getting off a plane. We were home.
I
for
was
the
three
weekend.
drinks in.
And so we're in the cabin, like freaking out, like, you know, like on the phone, like trying to do work on the phone. Yeah. And Becky's like, "Why are you freaking out so much?" I'm like, dude, Microsoft is buying all of Nokia. And she's like, "Why does that matter?"
Right.
Which is like rough. That's just straight up. That was her immediate
Well,
reaction.
Becky may have a slightly more jaded view of the proceedings.
No, I mean, like,
based on hearing about a lot of meaningless shit.
well, no, but like to me, it's a big deal. Like I think to the vast majority of our readers, to like the Verge staff, it's like this is crazy news. Like
the
we've been
industry,
expecting it.
to the
but the
industry,
second you
yeah.
step outside of the bubble, it's like here's this irrelevant company buying this other company that hasn't been very relevant. And like
I don't see how it gets Microsoft where it needs to be. That's the thing. What it does is protect them from having their only true phone partner
disappear.
walk.
And I think that's
I think
that's the
yeah.
story. Like if you look at, I mean, and there's like, yes, Steve Ballmer fell through a table, which is hilarious.
Yeah, they're
which
great
is-
stories.
But if you look at the timeline, it's like they were thinking about leaving.
Yeah.
And
why not?
and
Because
so Microsoft had to make the play. which is how do we make this work? How do we make this better?
Yeah.
And Nokia decided, like the company Nokia decided, it was better to sell off like the core piece of their brand, 32,000 employees, all of their manufacturing operations, than try to keep going in the phone market.
Sold for less money than Skype.
Yep, it's like 7.2 billion. Skype was 8.5, and that to me is
Sold
nuts.
for less money than Nokia paid for Navtech,
right,
which is insane.
right. Well, I mean,
Nokia. It's crazy.
well, Nokia. So they still have no. If you talk to Nokia, still the people who are left at Nokia are very defensive about what they are now.
Left behind.
Well, no, because they still have there's super profitable like carrier business where they sell the stuff in the cell towers. And
Right. Wow.
They build the network infrastructure. Like that's an ultra profitable business for them.
Right, well, and they were talking about how with the licenses they've signed with Microsoft, they're going to be making a lot more money from Nokia phones or from what used to be Nokia phones than they were when it was internal.
My impression is that Nokia, people who really love the brand Nokia consumers are very upset about this
Yes.
move.
Yeah, because there's no.
What does it mean? What does it mean to
Nokia
them?
has stopped being. It will never be a consumer brand, at least in the foreseeable future.
So does this mean that the phones will just be called Microsoft?
Yes. So that's the other thing, and this is man, the death threats when I wrote this piece. So Nokia licensed the Lumia name. They sold the Lumia name and the Asha name to Microsoft.
Right.
And Asha's the feature phone brand.
Right.
So the Lumia name, the smartphone brand, that's going to be Microsoft Lumia or Microsoft Surface
Right.
or whatever. The Nokia name, they've licensed for use on the Asha phones because Microsoft doesn't have.
Because Nokia Asha has
that's a
penetration
great
in
brand.
developing countries.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the smartphones, Microsoft can't use the Nokia name. On the feature phones, the dumb phones, Microsoft can use the Nokia name for 10 years. Against they can use Series 30 and Series 40.
Right.
So that means Nokia is not going to make another smartphone ever again.
But they can't.
I mean, they could.
Well, why couldn't they just make a new brand and do Android phone?
Because they just sold off their entire manufacturing.
Yeah,
I mean,
they'd
they'd have to
restart everything,
and they
again.
have to
Oh
wait.
wait, but Microsoft is still effectively running the Asha business.
right.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
and that's
right,
the thing
right,
is,
right,
I mean,
right.
that seems to be, and they even sort of mentioned it in the press release that that seems to be the brand they're much more interested in. Is the Asha brand is huge,
Right.
Lots of people own
Well,
these
I do
phones,
think-
and what
I do
Microsoft
think
can
I-
do is put Windows
So
8
that-
on
that's-
all those phones.
but
They
that's
can't. Well, I don't
they're
think
not going to put
Windows-
Windows 8
They
on
can
them.
put Microsoft services. on
sure.
those phones,
Right.
Right. They can.
They can put Bing search on them.
Just
Yeah.
Office, give Office.
No.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had a call with Joe Belfiore from Microsoft and Kevin Shields after the Balmer call.
Kevin Shields from My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, it was weird. Super weird. call.
Why is he in this deal?
partnership.
Yeah.
And I was like, how long are you going to keep running the Asha brand? And they just no answer.
Hmm.
And they're very. Here's the thing about this deal, and the thing about this New York Times story and All Things D story. There's all these great anecdotes, right? So Balmer's walking down a hallway, he falls through a coffee table, cuts his head open, screams. The Nokia executives think they're screaming at the deal and the deal's off, but really he just fell through a table.
Yeah.
That's a great anecdote. You know what anecdote is not in these stories? How the hell is this going to work?
Yeah.
Why did Microsoft want to buy Nokia?
Right.
It's completely
I think
unexplained.
like what you were saying, and I'm agreeing with, is the real story is if Microsoft lost Nokia, if Nokia said we're going to do Android devices, I assume they would have ousted Elop.
Right.
Because it's not like this has been a big win for them.
No.
It's
And it's
been
crazy that Steve
incremental-
Ballmer, when he wanted to buy Nokia's devices and services division, he didn't call Stephen Elop.
Right.
He called the
Rista.
chairman of Nokia.
Right. He called
which is
Rista. So
how unimportant is this guy?
Who's
So-
only been the chairman for a little while.
Yeah.
This guy's not Mr. Established chairman of the board at Nokia.
So I think
that's weird.
I
That's
think
a
at the end
weird
of the day,
detail.
$7 billion, $7.2 billion was a small price to pay for losing the only person who was actually supporting Windows.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Right.
if Nokia had said we're making Android phones now, Windows Phone 8 is dead that day.
No, I mean,
That's it.
literally,
It's done.
I have no doubt
Right.
if Nokia had stopped, that would be the end of Windows Phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because who wants to support it?
Right. Well, and the thing-
Samsung doesn't, obviously. They've done very little support.
HTC made one phone
is out.
or a couple, yeah.
Who
Yeah.
else is there? I mean, there's some...
Huawei made a couple.
maybe, I don't
everyone
know.
is.
Nobody cares. They
Yeah.
don't... Where do they... Are they being sold? What's their traction like? What's their market share for Windows Phone devices? I mean, global market share for Windows Phone is what?
No, and they keep doing this thing where they keep saying they're beating BlackBerry in 34 markets. It's like, dude,
Congratulations.
well, way to go. You know what company's failing? BlackBerry.
Yeah.
The only company worse off than you? BlackBerry.
Right. No, it's an insane, so we asked this question to Belfiore.
I'm like mad at Microsoft. I just think they've
Chris
just
and I were on the phone
done
with
so many
Belfiore,
wrong
and we were
things.
like, look, we've heard about a Microsoft phone and we've heard about a Nokia tablet. Like, are you going to combine with the Surface Group? And they're like, no answer. Like, they don't know the answers to these questions. These like basic questions. Like, you are already making hardware Microsoft.
Right.
You just bought 32,000 hardware manufacturing employees. What are you going to do with them?
Right.
And they're like, we don't know.
Well, here's the thing. It's also like,
or they're like, we're not going to tell you, which is
We ran a
worse.
couple of stories about the new Surface 2.
Right.
I'm like particularly steamed about this. Like, you're going to release another Surface. Your first Surface has been an abject failure.
Right.
This is like the Zune. It's the Zune. It is. It is like, we're going to get into this thing.
Right.
Like, you did it the wrong way. You did it too late. Your products haven't been successful the first time. Now you're going to keep throwing those products into the market. It's like, you need to explain to people why Surface. There is no good why Surface answer here.
Right.
Like, and this is, by the way, with the phones as well. Like, why Windows Phone? No one has... And we've talked about this before. Like, you need to make an argument to somebody now, like, why this and not the other thing?
Yeah.
Like, explain it to me.
Well, especially when you have such a huge play against you, where it's
we
don't have Instagram, but we do have X.
Yeah.
Like, they've never done that.
Right, but I don't, and it's not like, Surface RT is a failure.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
So-
no one's
so
making
here's the
RT
thing about-
I think
devices.
they probably admit that too.
Which
No.
is crazy, but like,
Yeah.
you just launched, you led with this product launch with RT.
Yeah.
This was like we're back, guys, and like, what happened there? It's like, don't acknowledge it. Now you've taken on this huge company
With no plan.
no
as far as anyone
acknowledgement, right,
knows.
and no acknowledgement of like the difficulty of what has
Right.
to happen. I just feel like, God, Microsoft, why didn't you just make whatever? I just don't understand it. I'm frustrated.
But no, it's
By the way, I built a PC last night. I don't want to talk about that. But
Yeah.
I installed Windows 7 on it.
Well, no. So here, every person I know now
just in case you're
who
wondering.
uses Windows uses it mostly because they have to.
Right.
I know very few people who are like on a Windows platform by choice.
Well, I've been messing with the what is the Razer Blade? The Razer Blade.
Yeah.
It's got Windows 8 on it. It's terrible to use.
Yeah.
As a laptop. Awful.
Right.
Terrible experience. I'm sure we said this in our review. I can't remember.
No, I was
like,
just at
it's crazy how bad it is. Like, you've got to be insane. Microsoft has to be insane to have thought that, like, if you were not on a touchscreen tablet device,
that this was a good
that this was
idea.
going to feel good at all. And it's like, one thing is good on a tablet, one thing is good on a desktop. You have to use both of them.
Right.
None of it makes any sense. It's still as insanely bad as it was day one.
Right.
Like, you added the start button back in, like, whatever.
No, I
You're
mean,
still
like,
dealing with like complete insanity.
My brother-in-law is a super.
I'm so mad.
He's like a high-end like PC IT consultant man.
I've heard about this guy before.
And so we were at his house over Labor Day weekend, and he had a Surface RT. He was really excited about it because he had an iPad. He's like, I hate doing all this. I hate virtualizing everything.
Yeah.
On the iPad. I hate running Citrix on it. He bought an RT. Immediately gave it up. He's like, I just gave it to somebody in my company. I was like, this is junk.
Yeah.
Now he has a Windows 8 tablet, and he's like, it's okay. Still use an iPad for a bunch of stuff.
I'll
And then the worst part is he has a Samsung all-in-one, like sitting in the kitchen. It's like a beautiful looking computer, right? It's like the stainless steel one that flips up.
Yeah.
And the touchscreen doesn't work because he bought it when it was running Windows 7. He installed Windows 8 on it, and Microsoft didn't have a driver.
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
I mean,
touchscreen.
I'll tell you
It's like
something.
that is the worst. You
It's
can't
crazy.
have that problem.
The
anymore.
trackpad on the Razer Blade is like really, again, terrible. Like, this is the crazy part, having just built one, and obviously there's driver. Like, the situation for like a PC user is so, I feel so bad that they experience what they experience. When I go back and use it, I dual boot on my last Mac. I have dual boot on it, and I would switch between the two once in a while. It was OS 7 and
Right.
and OS 10 or whatever. But it's just crazy to me every time I'm in the environment. I'm like, you don't do any of the things that I want you to do, and all of the things that I need to do, you make extra difficult.
Well, but aren't you right now making the case for why Microsoft should be bringing its hardware
No.
in-house?
I think this is right.
Like, that's why you connect those two things.
But they did the Surface. They got one thing right, which was like, we're going to make the hardware. But then they got like 10 things wrong in that process. It
Right.
was like, the hardware is really not that good. And the first one we're making is part of a system, an operating system that truly isn't Windows and we can't support and no one else is supporting. The second one is like not really a tablet. It's actually just a laptop with a detachable keyboard. And we didn't do all the things we need to do to make
Right.
a proper laptop when there's a ton of competition on the market that does do a proper laptop. And then it's like also 8 Metro and 8 desktop are like disconnected in every
And also,
way.
what sucks on our phones? YouTube. Just there you go.
Well,
Like,
but Google is complicit in that.
they're sort of complicit.
No,
in it.
Google has done. I'm telling you, I was using this Windows phone
Yeah.
Google has done everything they can to make it hard for Windows Phone users to use Google services.
Yep.
Whereas if you look at iOS, they've done everything they can
But
to make...
iOS is a dominant platform.
No, I understand that.
Google's saying over and over again, if they just make the browser compatible with our stuff, it'll work.
Well, it's crazy that they're not using... Obviously, like, everybody's gone WebKit. Like, it would definitely...
Well, I mean, Google just forked WebKit. Right? I mean, like, I'm just saying...
I'm just saying, but
if Microsoft wanted the
in defense of,
YouTube website to work on Windows Phone,
but
they could get there.
Right. Google does have to go rejigger everything to make it work.
Right.
I get that. Still, they're being kind of dicks about it.
No,
I mean, the exchange stuff. Okay, let's put it this way: you used to be able to, you could set up an exchange account and then go do your multiple calendars.
Yeah.
You can't. They won't even let you access the sync site anymore.
I mean, just the fact that it breaks Gmail threads is absurd.
I mean, it's bad. Look, it's bad. It's bad. There are a lot of problems. Like, you need to be in the Microsoft ecosystem to use a Windows Phone to its fullest extent.
Which is fine.
And I don't know if that's
you need to be in the Apple ecosystem to use an iPhone.
Well, and that's the thing is like
less and less every day. I will say that.
Sure,
as apps become reliant on each other, not just on like Apple's core system.
Right.
I know you're using Gmail on your iPhone,
Yeah.
and you're using Chrome, and you're using Gtalk and Google Calendar and all this other stuff. Like,
no, my
you're
iPhone is a vessel for Google.
Yeah, you're definitely
services
getting by using Google services on an iPhone. I know you can do that, but it's not about Google. It's fine to live in the Microsoft ecosystem. It's just like Microsoft's ecosystem and their operating system and the way they're doing business is such a mess right now.
No, but see, that's the thing is, in a lot of ways, I totally disagree. But they're so late to the party that it doesn't matter. Like, nobody uses Outlook email.
No,
like, nobody does.
But
if you do, Windows Phone is great for that. Like,
no,
Windows Phone email is great unless you use Gmail.
Look,
which everybody does.
They've made huge improvements over the last 3 or 4 years. They've really...
SkyDrive is great.
No, it's way more cohesive.
I gotta stop hearing about SkyDrive. Look,
it's not that great. It's not that great.
I know everybody loves
great.
it. Everybody keeps talking about it.
It's not that great.
But
I don't know.
everybody already uses something else.
Yeah.
Which is the problem.
I mean, it's fine. It's a cloud service.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Right.
There's a
Syncs
billion
your
of them.
things.
It's a billion. That's not the problem. Is not that. It's this lack of understanding about what is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is why Sinosky was kicked out. Windows 8 did not work. Their experiment failed. I mean, we've talked about this before. The experiment of splitting it as an RT in the Pro or whatever that is, the RT and x86 version, that didn't work.
No.
The experiment of splitting Metro and desktop, that didn't work.
Right.
Like, the experience of having Windows Phone platform and then whatever your code base is, and then like Surface and Windows Phone hardware made by somebody else, Surface, which they're fixing, I guess. Surface made by Microsoft, but then other Surface-like devices made by other partners. Like, that hasn't really worked.
Well, I say this is. I mean, I've been saying this, that the purchase of Nokia is like a mashup of all of the mistakes that I hear from bad companies in mobile. Yeah. It's like, we're gonna start making our own hardware, but license the platform. You know what? Have you heard of a company called Palm? Because that didn't work for them.
Yeah, they even screwed up.
Have you remember that didn't work? And then they're like, we're going to definitely focus on emerging markets.
I mean, I guess this is why
which
Balmer,
is what you say when your company is about to die.
I guess this is why Balmer is. That is true, by the way. I'm not saying like that's not a knock on like emerging markets, but it is definitely has been the battle cry of the last few years of the dying company. Right. When you start to say we are doing great in emerging markets, like emerging markets don't drive.
Yeah.
They're not driving the revenue. They're not driving the audience. Like,
right. But Nokia has at least been saying that for a really long time. Like,
Nokia's been dying.
They've been doing it
for
with
a really
a custom
long time.
platform, right? They've been doing it with Series 40 and
Asha. That doesn't change.
They've been making products for an emerging market.
But it hasn't changed their fate.
That's not what sells.
But I was going to say, like, if that had changed their fate, they would have said, Microsoft, we don't care.
People are knocking down the doors
Let's put it this
in
way.
island countries to get a BlackBerry.
Why is BlackBerry talking about selling their business if they're doing great in emerging markets? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because emerging markets don't drive your company to where it needs to be.
Right.
It's part of a great business. It's not a great business by itself.
It's like point and shoot cameras. Somebody said that to me the other day. It's like a huge market, but it doesn't do anything for anybody because there's so much of it, and it's so like
everybody makes point and shoot cameras. Also has 5,000 other businesses.
Right. That's
do you know
what
of
I'm
a
saying.
single point and shoot maker who's like, we just do point and shoots?
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. And the companies that do are like Kodak. Whoops.
I would bet there are so many angry Microsoft fans who would love to call in right now.
I think a lot of people actually know that this is.
I think this is why Balmer. I mean, I think this is ultimately like this is the lack of vision here. Like you see it now. Like even the Xbox launch has been a disaster. It's like your messaging was all wrong.
Yeah.
Like you've changed specs at the last minute. People don't know. Like they think you like. Well, they don't want to buy one. Like I can't buy used games. Like all this stuff. You know, whatever.
And they're delaying the launch in a lot of places.
Yeah, and the whole thing with backwards compatibility. There wasn't even an attempt to do something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like. it just looks bad, and it's just you do get that sense.
Well, so
of
here's
that,
my question for you.
Yes.
Is Balmer trying to leave Microsoft having turned it into Apple? Because that's what it looks like to me.
No, I think here's what's happening.
Right, they're an integrated company.
I think that 5 years into Balmer, how long has he been there? A decade?
Yeah.
5 years into Balmer whatever it is, halfway through his reign of terror, something happens in the market. What happens in the market is
January 2000.
Okay,
13 years.
so about a couple years after that, iTunes and the iPod really start happening.
Yeah.
Majorly. By 2002, 2003 is when it really starts to catch fire. They don't know what to do there. They fail.
Yeah.
iPhone comes along. I mean, they already weren't like the dominant smartphone. As far as smartphones went, I don't think they were considered the
you
dominant.
had a Moto Q.
I loved that
Right,
phone.
and you had a Trio 850.
I had a Trio 750.
750.
850 didn't exist.
Oh, right, that one it came.
They had a Trio. They made a Trio Pro, which was
that's the one.
That was horrible. They were not the dominant. They were not considered the dominant. BlackBerry was the dominant really in that era. But
and
iPhone
in
comes
Europe,
along.
it was Symbian.
Look, it's very simple. You can watch Nokia, RIM, BlackBerry, and Microsoft all do the same thing. iPhone comes along, they deride it. They feel like it's not going to bother them. It's not going to impact their business. They fail to see what was amazing about the iPhone. They fail to understand why consumers would want it and what's happening in mobile. It coincides with what's happening on the web. None of them have, I mean, forget about BlackBerry and Nokia for a second, but Microsoft does not have the presence on the web. So what does it start doing? It starts playing catch up with Bing and web services. It starts playing catch up in phones. The Kin they wasted 2 years of their lives on the Kin.
Yeah.
What was that? It was a complete, quagmire. It was a total snafu. They didn't need to do the Kin at all. So they spent all this time. Remember did Windows Mobile 6.5?
Yeah.
I found a post I did from like 3 years after the iPhone has existed or 2 years after the iPhone has existed. They're like trying to give us this like hexagonal icon thing.
With resistive touchscreens.
Resistive touchscreens. Like Nokia is still arguing the resistive touch. I mean, it took them so long. When did Windows Phone 7 when was it first released?
Oh, God. No, they did like
2010?
18 Remember, first it was called Windows Phone 7 series.
Yeah, Windows Phone 7
yeah.
series.
Oh, God.
We saw it in Barcelona, I think, in 2010.
Yeah.
Or 2009, and then they released it in 2010.
Can I just say, Neil has
First
the
launched in
perfect
2010.
URL syntax for Wikipedia just down.
2010.
Just typing out Wikipedia URLs.
You don't
He's
need to
got
do
it,
that.
dude.
You
It's
just
amazing.
need to just
I know,
do a
but
shortcut.
it's spectacular to
Anyhow,
watch.
I know it's
he's great. He's great. 2010, right?
Yeah.
So it's only been 3 years, but it took them that long just to release a product.
took them 3 years
and
to
that
catch up.
product was 2 years behind what Android and iOS were already doing. Meanwhile, Nokia, like whatever, they're like, we're blowing up our other phone business. We don't believe in it.
Yeah.
BlackBerry did not offer a new device until 2013, right? They released the Q10 and the Z10 this year.
Yeah.
That was their actual competitor to the iPhone, released in 2007.
Dude, the torch. Come on. Super app.
Remember
It's
the storm,
crazy.
the whole,
But
the
all
whole
they did-
screen click?
I mean, if I were Lazarides,
That was a good idea. That
if
was
I
still
were
a good idea.
Lazarides
Don't
or
care what you
Balmer,
stop.
the week after I saw the iPhone, I'd have said, shut it down.
Yeah.
Whatever you're working on. Or a month, a year. How about after the iPhone was massively successful or even marginally successful?
Yeah.
Be like, shut it down.
Yeah.
Kin, shut it down.
Yeah.
Windows Mobile 6.5, get that out of my face.
Right.
Like, we're going to start from scratch.
No, and
if it
you
takes
recall,
longer
the
than
Windows,
a year to
the
have
Windows
a product.
Phone roadmap has been Windows Phone 7 series.
Zune 2.0.
We restarted. Remember, their whole thing was we restarted. We realized the phone can't be a computer and the computer can't be a phone.
Right.
They're different. And then they put it out and they were like, it's okay. And they're like, by the way, next year, Windows Phone 8, totally incompatible with everything.
Oh, that's the
and
other
by the
thing.
way, this UI that we said was custom for a phone now is everywhere.
Right.
This is the future of Microsoft. And it's
Right.
like the whole message of this platform was that you built a custom UI for the phone.
Right, their old ads used to be Windows Mobile. You'd see the Windows Mobile screen
Yeah.
connected to like and they did this. They've now went back to that,
Right.
Where it's like your phone and your tablet and your desktop are all the same
UI.
thing. But like they're not actually. That's the crazy part. They're not. Like you
Right.
can't make a Windows Phone app that expands to like a Surface.
And
It doesn't work that
I know
way.
that's the goal. Angry people, I know you're going to
Whatever, it
email,
doesn't
you're
matter
gonna
the
email
goal.
us and tell us that's the goal.
Listen, I have a goal.
mean-
There's a lot of stuff I want to do with the Verge we haven't done yet. Okay,
Well, but I
I
want
want
to
to
say
have sitcoms, Verge sitcoms.
Yes.
The goal.
yes.
We haven't done it yet. I know we're going to get there.
No, I want to say the one thing that I read in
just
this
ranting,
whole
sorry.
thing was John Cassidy wrote a piece for the New Yorker right after this all happened, saying that the big difference that nobody understands is the difference between lottery winners and people who buy lottery tickets. And so he was like, there was a lottery for PC dominance in the 80s, and Microsoft won. Right. And so then Steve Ballmer's job became to manage that lottery and make tons and tons of money off the fact that Microsoft won. And he did that. Like in his time there, they doubled profits, they doubled revenues. Like the man made a ton of money. But what they didn't, and he was a finance guy, like that's what he was there to do.
Yeah.
They won. Like, Microsoft still owns the computer
like
market.
95% of the 90%.
Like Windows 8 is, you just said it's a huge mistake, and I kind of agree, but it's bigger than OS X.
It's going to be there. You can't stop it.
It's already bigger than OS X.
Sure.
But then on the flip side, that is, what did I say? Don't worry about it.
I do the same thing.
So on the flip side, there was, in the midst of all this, there was another lottery, which was mobile. And they didn't win that. And that's like, they had, what Bill Gates was so incredible at was both winning the lottery and like managing after they
But I feel like the lottery is the wrong analogy. The analogy is you're at a blackjack table and you're playing either you can count cards or you can't. If you can count cards, you're going to make a bunch of money. If you can't count, you can count cards in blackjack. That's the game you do.
No,
right?
but
you could. But I'm saying, but you have to be able to keep counting cards and be better than the other people.
No, but so the other part of that is Steve Ballmer kept being dealt 21 over and over and over and over, and then he starts winning and winning, and then he starts being dealt 16 and goes, oh crap, I don't know what to do. And that's where this all shifted.
I guess that's one way to look at it. Yeah. Or it's like you have all of your winnings sitting here and you stop playing.
Right.
Or you're playing a different game.
Right.
And that you're not good at.
Or you're like, we're switching.
You're like, I'm switching to craps. I'm not really good at it, but I want to give it a whirl.
That's what
and I got all this money over here, so why shouldn't I?
They renovated the casino and we're like, it's just craps.
Well, in a way, it was like, Bing. Like, I understand they want to stop the dominance of Google or whatever, but it's like, their strategy, it's like you got to stop it by making really great products that people really want to use. And that goes for search.
Right.
By the way, it's not just Google has better search. There were Bing had problems. Bing has had problems that go beyond it. It's also like you have to recognize the sphere of products, It was like you had search but no email. No calendar, not integrated at first. It's like all this stuff connects.
Well, yeah, and now
Apple still has the same problem with this too.
Right.
No, Apple sucks at services.
They are terrible.
This is the thing.
Bad services. Bad.
But my experience with Apple and Google right now, where I have an Android phone and an iPhone, and I prefer to use, B+ versions of the Google services on my iPhone.
Yeah.
Because it's a better operating system experiences. That's real. If Apple's services are really good, I wouldn't be like, man, I'm going to use a slightly inferior version of Google services on a better piece of hardware and a better operating system. My Android phone is an A+ experience of Google services, but everything else about it, there's a jank factor to some.
I don't feel that. I don't feel that at all. I have to say, I have heard people express this, but I just don't.
As soon as I try to take a picture, man, it's like I'm going to use the iPhone.
The cameras are bad. That's true.
And
the cameras are
just it's just
cameras are bad.
And
I don't understand that because you're not actually talking about. I don't believe you're talking about we know how to make good cameras.
Right.
Good cameras, there's a way to do it.
Yeah.
You can reverse engineer the iPhone and find out how to do it. I mean, don't do that, Samsung, because you have enough problems. But I'm just saying, it can be done. The Lumia takes great photos. I mean, you had to put a gigantic ass sensor in there, but it takes great photos. You know what? Okay, fine. That's a problem I don't understand.
Right.
What I do understand is that almost everything else, I was just talking to somebody about this today, almost everything else is better, in my opinion, to do, sharing a photo. It's the 4 steps that I remove, and it's stuff they still haven't fixed in iOS 7. Maybe we'll see some stuff on September 10th that shows. We should talk about other things. By the way, we've been having Microsoft forever, and there's Apple stuff to talk about. I mean, they have.
All right, let's just go into it.
We should talk about Apple.
Apple's
September
very
10th.
Speculative. Let's talk about the stuff that happened this week.
September 10th is.
We're going to talk about Apple a lot next week.
They're doing the event.
Well,
I just want to say it.
Yeah.
Apple's September 10th. We'll be there live covering.
Yep. David will be there.
I will be there.
I'm actually. I'm gonna be on vacation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be away at a tropical resort,
naked,
in the nude.
Yeah.
Having drinking from a coconut with a straw.
Yeah.
Nude.
The idea that you won't be watching our
that in
coverage
your
and
head.
raging at us from vacation is
I actually have going to a
lie.
place where I cannot, hopefully not connect to the internet.
It's good. We'll be fine.
If at all possible. But anyhow, we're gonna have a full crew there live covering.
It's gonna be awesome.
We're gonna do pre and post show
Yep.
of some type, I believe. And yeah, September 10th. Apple,
By the way,
new
and
iPhones.
the iPads are leaking out like crazy. We should.
Is it going to be? Do we think there's going to be iPads there?
They're leaking out like mad. So I'm very confident in the 5S.
So maybe they'll do.
Very confident in the 5C.
So maybe they'll do a new iPads, new iPhones, right?
That's a lot.
That's a lot. right? And we
then
know
a
there's several
TV or
product
watch
areas.
in October.
TV or watch in the special October event.
I think if they're gonna do a watch, I feel like it would get its own event.
I feel like it.
And
Yeah,
it'll be like MacBooks, and then they'll be like, "Just kidding, that's not why we brought you here."
Yeah.
I don't see.
Here's a watch.
Honestly, I don't see a TV this year. Maybe I'm
I
crazy.
definitely don't see a TV this year.
I don't feel like the market is ready for a
The
TV.
rumor has been that there'll be a new Apple TV at this event.
No, I think a new Apple TV with some updated stuff. Here's what I
4K.
would see: like some
4K.
new, some new apps, faster, maybe some interface improvements.
Yeah.
Game controller support. I mean, they can. It's there in iOS 7.
Yeah, but what are you gonna what you're gonna allow people to do games for? You're gonna allow apps?
You got to make the move sometime.
You don't got to do anything if you're Apple.
But
It's just a hobby.
I think
Is there any
it's now
better
more
way,
than a hobby,
is there
but less
any
than
better
an actual
way
business.
for them to completely troll the Xbox launch than by announcing a new Apple TV with games next week?
I mean,
So
that would be
everybody in the industry,
No, that would be
every
a-
Today Show segment is, the Xbox is $500.
This is
the new
$100,
Apple TV
yeah.
plays all your favorite games for your iPad. It's only $99, and check out these cool controllers. Like
Yeah,
they'll,
but
they'll
I
win
don't
that
see-
argument every time.
No,
I
they're
don't
gonna
see
do that in,
Apple.
like, November,
No,
though.
but
They'll
I
do it
don't
the
see
day before
Apple.
the Xbox comes
Here's what
out.
I don't see. I don't see Apple wading into the you can get these controllers conversation on their stage. I don't see that. I don't see
Yeah.
that at all. To me, this is like Apple wants to show you this simple,
No, they're
elegant
gonna, I think
solution.
their number one controller will still be the phone.
I mean,
but
if
they're
it is, that's
building
terrible,
Game
because the-
controller
the
support.
phone is a bad
But there's
controller.
game controller support in iOS 7.
No, I understand that,
Right?
but adding in controller support at like a low level for developers versus sharing it with your public on stage at your event is very different. I have trouble envisioning a Today Show spot where someone is like, and you can get all these controllers like for an Apple product. That's not what Apple wants.
Right.
They don't want you. They don't want you
know.
to hear about all the accessories you can get.
But what if you're up there playing like a racing
Unless they
game and
make
you're
them.
just using your iPad as like the steering wheel and up
Sure,
on the
a
TV
racing
is the
game is
Like,
fine.
that could happen.
That's cool, but that's one type of game.
Right.
There's
No,
like
if
a
I'm
the
billion-
saying,
only type
I
of
try
think
playing like a
Apple's,
puzzle game.
I
like
don't-
that.
I think
refuse.
Apple's first move will be to say, like, the controller is your iPhone. The controller is your iPad. But if you don't like those, look at this other shit that we're enabling.
Maybe. Or
Like-
maybe they'll make a really elegant
Yeah.
controller that you can buy.
Maybe. I mean, that's also possible. But
You
like,
know?
they've already showed off the Logitech thing that they're working on.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff is out there in the mix.
Logitech.
Yeah, they're
Logitech is back in the game. But I do think for the TV, it's got to be something a little bit more compelling than just in games. It's pretty compelling.
Yeah.
No, I think the Apple TV, it doesn't have to be more compelling.
Who are they competing with? They're not. Are they competing with the Xbox?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a $500 device. No one's buying it who doesn't want it.
right.
It's not like I got to get a game system. I don't care what game system it is, but I got to
need
have
it
one.
now.
Oh wait, I can get
I
one for
think-
$100.
I think
Okay.
if they undercut it by that much, I think there are like.
But they're not
parents around-
undercutting. They're not. It's not an equivalent. It's like, and they may be able to try to tell you that it is, but the audience that buys the $500 Xbox is not the same audience that is going to want the $100 Apple TV game system.
I
It's
think
just
there's
different.
more overlap than you think.
I think there is some overlap.
That's like saying the audience that wanted the 3DS is not the audience that bought the iPod Touch, and that turned out to be
Wait,
absolutely not
what?
true.
No, but that was like they gave you way more
Yeah.
plus the same stuff.
Right.
It was like, oh, you love playing like brain teaser games on your 3DS or whatever. Well, here we have those. Plus, it's a web browser, and
that's all they
it's,
need to do, right?
It's a music player,
They need
and
to say,
it's a
do you
camera,
love,
and
do you love
it's
playing like shooter games?
yeah. But that's the thing. But those people who are buying a $500 game system don't love playing like puzzle games and brain teasers.
Right. They'd have to come out with like.
They'd have to
hardcore
say,
games.
like,
They'd have to
we
come out and
have-
say like we have Grand Theft Auto 5. Like
we have Grand Theft Auto 5,
that's
and it
not-
looks as
that's
good
not
as
so-
a, and it looks as good as a
I
console.
don't think they have to say that. I don't think. I
Oh,
think
they'll have
there's-
to say console quality.
I
graphics.
think they're going to definitely say console quality graphics, but what they're going to mean is the Xbox 360.
Wii U.
They're going to mean the Wii U and the 360. They're not going to mean the next gen systems.
Yeah.
And I think there's.
I mean, they could eat the Wii
there's
U up
a
tomorrow.
Like
Like, that's
anybody
not
could
hard.
do that.
Yeah.
You could
the
eat the Wii U tomorrow by
doesn't.
plugging an iPad
Wii
into
U
a
is
TV.
not even on the
Right.
table. So what is it?
No, I think they can say all this. Look, I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying
Okay.
the opportunity is just. It's the,
I don't disagree. There's
I mean,
an
if you talk to Chris Grant at Polygon, he's like, "This is what's going to happen."
I don't disagree. It's possible.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you know, the $99 Apple TV that also plays games. There's something that's not that compelling to me about it. Like they're not
But that's 'cause-
solving. They're not solving the problem that I need them to solve in the living room.
What's that?
like my annoying TV situation where I have to go to my cable box and I have to switch to my
I
Apple
don't think-
TV and
I
then I'm
don't
watching
think
something
until
on
they-
my Roku.
Until they do something magical, I don't think they can solve that problem.
That's what I'm saying. But do you want
I think what they can do
it could
is
be an
continue,
incremental.
They
Sure.
can continue to increase their penetration in living rooms
But
everywhere.
I think the answer isn't
and
just
gaming
games.
is a super easy
But I don't
way
think it's
to do
just
that.
games. I think it's apps. I mean, it's just
Yeah, but
if you're
TV
gonna
apps
do-
or video apps.
if you're gonna do.
I've never
Maybe
ever
you
seen
could
a
do
TV
educational.
app.
There's like educational apps you could do, and there's like all sorts of stuff. I'm sure books, animated books,
Books on TV.
books on TV.
That sounds like
Heard
a
it here first.
1970s nightmare, dude. Like I'm saying,
just
like
saying, if you're gonna do games, you have to do apps.
sure. I think like educational
Board games, multiplayer board games where everybody has a thing and they see it on the TV.
They're
Weren't
already
we
doing
not
that.
talking
Trivia
about
games.
Apple?
We were gonna not.
We
talk
were
That's a
gonna
about
not
game.
talk
Apple.
That's a
about
game.
Apple.
That is a game, though.
All right, that's happening next week.
A board game is a type of game.
Let's talk about it this week.
What is it?
Let's talk about the.
Oh, God, we didn't
the
talk about Samsung.
Let's talk about the Galaxy Gear.
Galaxy Gear.
$300.
Whatever. Who cares? It's a watch. I mean, do you know how much a nice watch is?
Does
a
your
ton of
$300
$1
watch
million.
cost have a battery last less than a day?
I mean, okay, so number one, I'm not defending this at all. I would never get one. I have no interest in the Galaxy Gear. Let me just be clear. I don't think this is horrible, but I would never wear a watch like this. I mean, I would have worn it in 1997 when I went to raves. I would not wear it today. I would also not wear the Pebble. I think the Pebble is ugly. Now, having said that, I wear a watch that I have to wind every day.
Yeah.
Okay? I wind it.
Sure.
I still want to wear it.
Okay.
Charging a watch overnight.
Winding a watch is like
charging
an emotional,
charging a watch
tactile,
overnight. I charge my
pleasing
phone.
thing
I
to
charge
do.
my phone every day.
Do you get the same
charging
pleasure?
a watch is not.
Do you get the same pleasure out of charging your phone as you do winding your watch every morning?
Yes.
That is not true.
I just plug it in. What is it? I plug it in and then I take it off in the morning. I'm done.
But you're like,
This is not
people
pleasure. No, this is not a pleasurable experience. It's just an experience I do because I have to. Like, okay, listen. I'm just saying. I'm not defending it, but what I will say is people wind watches. People charge phones. I don't think it's that
I
crazy.
think the number of people who wind their watches is vanishingly small.
I don't. But I think like I charge my phone every night. Like I don't think anybody will have a problem with charging their watch when they go to bed every night.
So,
Sure.
So
I just think it's like Vlad says it's really laggy.
yeah, it is. Look at it.
I mean, yeah, you can tell.
Furthermore,
Well, it's also it works on one device. I feel like this
It
is
works in the Note 3 and in the Note
Wait, I don't understand.
10.1.
I don't understand. It doesn't work for a Galaxy S4 or 3.
No, they have to update them yet. The S4.
Oh, well, okay,
Probably
fine.
not the S3. The S4.
But fine, whatever. But
I mean, but I feel
a
like-
ton of people have S3s. I would imagine they'd want them. To
I don't
be
know if
ready.
the S3 has a Bluetooth chip.
The point is, no one wanted a
Bluetooth
Samsung
4.
watch to begin with.
Right. And
Okay,
now they have one with a camera and a speaker that you can talk into.
The camera's bad. It looks like a weird.
Hello.
Like,
How's it going,
the
guys?
camera looks like a weird sore on the side of the. But like, I will say this: I thought this thing was going to be really ugly. I expected it to be gross, and I don't find this to be totally
No,
gross.
it's a lot
looks like
better than I thought.
It looks like a digital watch.
some of the
Yeah.
colors in it. It's like a calculator watch, but it's a touchscreen instead of a calculator.
Exactly. And I think it's fine if that's your thing. I think the Pebbles, like, I would not wear one. I think it's ugly personally. I have yet to see a smartwatch of any type that I would wear.
Right.
So, like, I think there's going to be a lot of people who look at this and say the same thing. I do think this did not look nearly as bad as I thought it would. I think from a functionality standpoint, it leaves a lot to be desired. I think it's a
Let me
hard
just
sell
ask
anyhow.
you this question.
But I
Why
think
would you
$300 is that
pair
much
this?
money.
Why would you pair this to a Note 10.1? In what world is that a good idea? Like, why would those be the two devices that they launch? And they're like, you can pair a watch to the Note 3, which is enormous,
Yeah.
and the Note 10.1.
Well, the Note,
Which is
well,
extra
assuming
enormous.
Which is like-
presumably you maybe carry the 10.1 with you. You
At all
have it at home
times.
and you take it to work, and it's like a device you use for like browsing and work
Yeah.
and home.
And you want your watch to be communicating with it.
well, I mean, you'd have your email on it, whatever else, so it would just be like a companion.
No, but
device.
don't you
I
need
don't-
a
I'm not-
device
I don't know.
that's
I don't know
connected
why.
all
I
the
don't work-
time, or else this thing is sort of
I don't work
useless?
at the marketing
don't
department of
know.
Samsung, so I have no idea.
It's like, you know, there's that one thing that's like super Samsung, like, and this is it, where it's like they made a watch that you can pair to a tablet, which makes no sense.
I think the camera is the super Samsung part of it.
where they just like threw in a feature.
That weird,
no,
like,
I like it. I said yesterday on Verge Live that we're entering a new age of it's like the creep shot revolution, where there's like new and better ways to
like,
take creep shots.
hey.
I just like the idea you can do the Bond, like mess with your cufflinks and just take pictures of people as you're doing it.
No, I get it. Like they wanted it to be
Great.
futuristic.
I'm so happy that finally exists.
I know. Me too.
But I mean, here's the thing: a digital smartwatch is a hard sell for most people.
And by
to
the way,
begin.
Chris Ziegler is vehement that this is not actually a smartwatch. This is like a little computer on
He
your
wrote
wrist.
an editorial that's on a smartwatch, and I don't know. You know, you're getting into the weeds of what
Yeah.
is and isn't a smartwatch.
But it has 70 apps. It has Evernote and Path, in case you're super into Path.
The pay version, or
It has Runkeeper. I mean, they did. It's like they checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
Right.
And they didn't.
Is it more or less functional?
The last box is like the one that's highlighted. It says
Is it more or
Y,
less
and they,
functional?
Didn't check that one.
I mean, have you heard of Samsung?
Is it more or less
Samsung.
functional than a Nano on a wristband?
It's more functional.
Yeah.
Far more functional.
So they got that.
They got there.
It's also a lot more expensive.
It's way
How
more
much is the
expensive.
cheapest Nano?
They don't make that Nano anymore.
How much was the cheapest Nano?
$149, I think.
How much was the cheapest wristband?
Like 79.
So actually,
Yeah, but
put those together and
that's
wham.
that's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous way to think about this.
Well, who else wants this watch? People who thought wearing the Nano was cool.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, I just
Eli
think
Patel, for instance. Phil Schiller would like this watch.
I don't know.
Phil Schiller probably wants to try out the Galaxy Gear.
I just don't think
Can you
the guy.
imagine
I'm sure.
just-
I'm sure they're.
He's just wearing one on
I
stage.
want to
dying to
imagine
try the Galaxy
Phil
Gear.
is like
Uh,
checking it out.
I mean, look. I just don't know what they
do you think?
this
Do you think
is for.
Apple's going to introduce a watch?
At some point they have
Do
to.
you think they'll do it next week?
The wrist is a
No.
profound opportunity.
Why was Samsung in such
intensely
a
interested
hurry?
in
Why
it.
was Samsung in such a hurry?
Because I think Samsung thinks, and they might think this is true, and I just don't think it's true. I think they believe that they finally have a marketing edge on Apple, that they're winning, and that they have the mind share to say, look, we beat Apple to this market. And I think what is
What
true
would be amazing is if they sue Apple
for
for copyright infringement on the design of the watch.
But I don't think that's true. I don't think the smartwatch market exists in the mainstream
Right.
until Apple makes a watch.
I mean, I feel like this is
And I
this
think
is
that's
No,
just
makes a watch
reality.
people want.
This
Yeah,
is the
right.
same thing as what Qualcomm announced yesterday, the TOC or whatever
Yeah.
it is, TOQ. They're concepts. They're like, look, we made watches.
Well, the Galaxy
And then
Gear is
they
a
can
real
be like-
product.
Yeah, but it is and it isn't. I mean, it's the same kind of thing.
Sony
like
announced a new watch yesterday. Nobody gives a shit. Like
well, on some level, like they're almost.
What is it they did?
the smartwatch too. Nobody cares.
They
Like,
announced that forever ago. They just showed it for the first time. Like it's
yeah.
all this stuff everybody just wants. It's exactly what you're saying. They want to say like we did it first. We
Yeah.
invented a thing. Like Apple gets all this credit for being like we.
I mean, there
had
were
the first
touchscreen phones
great
before the iPhone
touchscreen phone.
existed.
Right, but Apple. This is Sony's
Oh my
piece of
god,
junk.
it's so huge.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that
okay,
is huge.
That's my only thing is like you're wearing a watch that's bigger than any of the things that just got announced yesterday.
No, this
this
is pretty big.
this
But
is
that
not
is
bigger than those
that
things.
is huge though. That's like
It's a big
40.
watch.
That's like a 48 nanometer or something. Like it's
Yeah.
really big.
Nanometer?
Or not nanometer, centimeter.
yeah.
Sorry, it's really
No, like,
big.
I saw this watch.
or what?
you
Not
know, like,
centimeter. What millimeter? Sorry.
Yeah.
It's.
I'm bad at measuring.
I have not had an appropriate amount of sleep this week. The Labor
It's Steve
Day,
Ballmer's fault.
the Balmer thing set me on a spiral of issues.
Right. So let's run through. There's two phones we should talk about, and we should
Yes.
talk about the other Sony thing.
Yes.
So Note 3 is 5.7 inches, which is crazy to me.
Just get out of
it
my
has
face.
it has a plastic fake
leather
plastic
back.
leather.
I'm so annoyed. It's like I do like that they're taking this leather stitching to the next logical level, which is like
Which is
it's
way
like,
too
It's
far.
like, hey, we took the Galaxy S4,
Yeah.
and we made it larger.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Like I don't know what to say to you about
Yeah.
that. Like you've got
Yeah.
some spend,
It's enormous.
some spend apps.
I mean,
Okay.
there's clearly a market for this, and
It's in Asia.
Like, yeah, and that's fine. Like,
No,
they'll
look,
sell tons
every
of them
time
again,
it's
and
a-
that's
No,
fine.
actually, I see
it.
a lot of notes.
I
do
see
too,
them on
actually.
I see
Yeah.
a lot of notes on the street.
And
I
every
don't
time-
understand it.
And every time I see one, I'm like, oh, look at the size of that screen.
And I think if you're like a huge ass basketball player, like the Note makes
Yeah.
it, and they have like commercials where it's like basketball players like with their phone. Like I get it. If you're like 7 feet tall, the Note is an awesome phone. I'm 6'4". I think the S4 is pretty big.
Yeah.
It feels pretty huge to me. A Note is ridiculous.
But I remember you were super psyched about the S4 and not using that.
So I still think the S4 is fine. I will say this though.
The S4 was stock.
Stock S4.
Yeah.
I still like it. Can I just say something really funny?
Yeah.
Not funny. It's sad. They updated the Galaxy S4 Google Play Edition
Yeah.
to 4.3, and they broke support for the SD card on it. You can't.
Oh, no.
Apps cannot write.
Wow.
Cannot write to the SD card. Actually, maybe we've read about it. Maybe we haven't. It's so minor because like most people don't. But it's ridiculous. Like guys, like my audio
Yeah.
file was stored on an SD card because you can put a 32 gig card in
Yeah.
there. So like, why not store all my music on it? Like, cool. It can't read it anymore because it like doesn't recognize that the card exists because you can't write to it.
Wow.
It's insane. It's ridiculous. It's the worst. Anyhow, I just thought I'd share Samsung
work.
and Google. Good going on that. way to obviate one of the best features of it with your update.
Oh, Wall Street Journal headline. Breaking news. Apple tests iPhone screens as large as 6 inches.
Can I say I hate stories like this? Of course, they're
Yeah.
probably testing bigger ones.
Yeah.
How big can it be until it's not a phone anymore?
Well, look, no, I think this Note thing is like. Oh, by the way, I think the number is 6 inches. I think if you're over 6
agree.
inches, it's a tablet. Even if you're creeping up on it.
Galaxy Mega, bro.
Yeah, but that's a
6.3.
tablet. It's not a phone.
If it makes phone calls.
Get over
Your
yourself.
tablet's not a phone.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this. What is this one? Is this 4.7?
Yeah.
This is crazy because this is like kind of the size of an iPhone. It's like not much bigger. Where's your iPhone? Let me see it.
Yeah, it's not much bigger. It's bigger, but it's not much bigger.
It's like, I mean, yeah, it's a marginal difference. Like,
It's not super marginal.
well, it's.
I mean, you put that next to like a GS4 and it's
I think if
pretty
you
significant.
Right.
handed the X to somebody who without an iPhone, they would be hard pressed to know the difference.
Yes,
but
but
as soon
with
as
an
you get
iPhone,
them together, it's
Yeah.
obvious.
I mean, I actually, but it's crazy that you can fit a 4.7 inch screen into a body. this
Apple has
small.
been particularly interested in recent tests for a 4.8 inch screen, which is like fine. Sure.
I mean, it would be
That's
like
as big
that.
as that's the one, right?
I personally don't.
What's the one is 4.7.
I do think there is a point where it's like too big.
Yeah.
I think that I will say that this is not 4.7, is
Yeah,
it?
it is.
4.7.
What's the Galaxy S4 is 5?
5.
It's too big.
Yeah.
It's too big. 5 is too big for a phone, for any kind of one-handed
agree.
use. I think 4.5,
Unless you're giant.
4.7 is like, any bigger than like 4.7, you're just pushing.
Yeah.
4.5 feels like kind of a sweet spot to me.
Isn't that where's the iPhone right now?
4.
Four? Just straight 4.
I will say, like, this, whatever, the screen is, to me, it's like a little bit wider, which is nice because it's hard to type on a very narrow screen.
Speaking of which, of 5-inch phones, we should talk about the Xperia Z1, which has a 20 megapixel sensor, which is insane. It's as big as the sensor. Jordan was telling me it's as big as the sensor in the camcorders we used at CES last year, which is nuts.
Does it have a
insane?
huge lump on it?
No, it's like a cool looking phone. It's waterproof. I hate on-screen buttons. So that's
My biggest problem is that Sony hasn't made a good phone in ever.
no. The Z is
They've-
pretty good.
They've never
If
actually
the
made
Z
a good
had
phone.
a screen that wasn't washed out and awful,
No, it's
they would be a great
triluminous,
phone.
dude.
Are they going to do colors? They have colors?
Yeah, they have colors. There's a purple one there.
I want like a bright green one. Do they make a bright green one?
No, not everything is Moto X. I'm sorry. You can't just have whatever you want.
This is kind of a
It's
deal.
called
Yeah.
Spearmint.
No, so I'm actually like legitimately excited about this phone because an Android phone with a great camera.
Their skin is terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
they
we
do a
said-
horrible skin
no,
treatment.
they're kind of
If they did a Google Play edition of that, I'd be sort of
Well, I remember
interested.
like turning to you at the Lumia 1020 event and being like, God, I wish this ran Android. And like, this is the Lumia 1020 running Android.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as well designed, but
All right,
it's
you're convincing
supposedly
me. You're almost
crazy
convincing me.
camera running Android.
I mean, it has like it's gonna do this. You're gonna do the same thing with this one that you do with any other Android phone. You're gonna install your own launcher and be annoyed.
Yeah, but
with
unless
it.
you're using like this or a Play edition, which doesn't need its own launcher, because
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't need a launcher because it's basically.
Well, I
stock.
mean, there's been all these rumors about Sony doing a Play
Oof.
edition.
Oh,
We should also
God.
talk about the Nexus 5, which
Nexus 5 got leaked. I mean, people are like, Google wanted to leak it.
Right.
I don't know. They pulled the video. I mean, if this was an elaborate hoax, whatever. But
and that leads us directly to KitKat.
it's definitely.
I'm just getting through the topics as we've
That's
been
fine.
on
It's
now.
definitely like. Do we have a picture of the Nexus 5, which is what we're calling it?
Yeah.
So it'll be up on your view screen here momentarily. I'm starting to feel really, really fatigued. Can we zoom in on that?
Yeah,
zoom
it's
in,
phones.
like do like an
We've been talking
inside
about phones too much.
inside edition. Yeah, I'm just like this straight up text.
You just
It's been
need
a
to be shouting enhance.
Keep zooming, zoom further in. I want to get in on this
Too
guy's
far.
eyeball.
Oh, hey.
The face of evil.
What do you think his name is?
Fired.
Looking for a new. His name
Fired
is like
Patel.
his name is like the actor they hired to appear.
Yeah.
No, but so here's the deal. It's an LG phone, has an LG logo at the bottom. It's obviously larger. There's a Nexus 4 right next to it. If you pan over, we can see the Nexus person with the Nexus 4, which is why this sort of feels a little bit staged. But it probably, I mean, who knows? It looks like a 5-inch based on what is the new one? The Optimus Pro.
G2
The
Pro.
G2.
Or the G2, whatever.
G2.
I mean, it's
The
a
LG
large,
G2.
it's a large phone. The real
like
story,
R2D2.
the real story is like, yes, they're going to release a new Nexus phone. It's probably going to be bigger. The question is, what's the software going to be like? And that brings us to KitKat.
Yeah.
KitKat.
KitKat.
I don't understand this at all.
I love it.
I feel like it's
hilarious.
the craziest, weirdest, like sort of upsetting thing.
It's Sundar, man, going nuts.
Oh, here's the video, by the way.
Yeah.
They
I
pulled it,
actually-
but
I
we've got
flipped.
it.
I hated it at first, and now I kind of think it's a great idea.
I think it's working.
I know
Yeah.
that they just
Let me
used the name KitKat to slight Chris Ziegler, who broke the story about key lime pie.
Yeah.
Which was, by the way, they've now
definitely
admitted
true.
like,
They've verified,
the internal name for it.
And even
Yeah.
once they decided on KitKat, they kept calling it key lime pie until.
Right.
Did you
Until
get
the
one of
deal
these
was done.
Kit Kats?
I did. It's upstairs.
God, I want a Kit Kat right,
I'm going
right
to
now.
eat it.
Can we
No,
eat it?
we
That's
can't
just-
eat it.
Why don't we
That's
eat it
going
on
They
the
made
Vergecast?
500 of them. I'm
Why
not
don't we
gonna
eat it right now?
I have other Kit Kats.
Were you going to put it in like the
I have the Android
Smithsonian?
Kit Kat.
I would eat a regular Kit Kat as well.
Can Evan? Can you?
I don't want to eat a Kit Kat on the air. It's fine. Thanks for nothing.
I
All I want to do is eat your Android Kit
Go
Kat.
get it.
No, it's fine. Okay, so Nilay, tell us the story about the Android. Why? By the way, why is it 4.4?
I don't know. By the way, you know what just came out? 4.3.
Okay, here's the
May.
deal. But here's the deal. Have they ever done a point release with a name?
All of no.
Oh yeah, I guess
Jelly Bean.
Jelly
Jelly
Bean
Bean.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ice cream sandwich was not. And then previous to that was honeycomb. There was
Gingerbread.
nothing in between.
Yeah, but honeycomb does not count.
Gingerbread was 2.3. Yeah, you're
It's 2.5. What the
no,
hell is 2.5?
2.3. Quiet in there, John. You don't know what you're talking about. I know.
I just look. Here's what I understand. They announced 4.3 like a minute ago.
Yeah.
It's not even out. There's 3
it's on-
devices
no,
on the
it's-
market.
it's-
Look. They're going to do an event in October.
Yeah.
They're going to release the Nexus 5 with KitKat.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Then why even do 4.3?
Why am I slipping into
why
the
not
Mark
just
Wahlberg
wait
voice?
3
Does
more
anybody
months and do a much bigger
Yeah. Why
update?
release
Wait,
4.3
what?
and why announce 4.4 now?
4.3 is like a bunch of under the hood stuff. It's
Well, that's what I'm saying. So why
it's
even
a
do
point-
it?
It's barely a thing.
Why
So
even
What
do?
do you mean? Why
like,
even do it?
they made
Because
a
it
big-
adds stuff. Why
no,
not?
But like they made a
Maybe
big deal
4.4
out of it.
is going to
They
be a big
named it.
change.
I
Like
mean, I guess it is still Jelly
How
Bean.
will it be a big change?
new
it's
UI,
4.4.
new colors. I don't know.
Isn't that 5.0 stuff?
It's just
I have
one
no
new
idea. I
wallpaper.
don't know what Google's doing. Maybe
They're crazy.
5.0 is when they unify Chrome and Android.
That'd be amazing.
Well, I mean, think about it. That's why they're holding off. They're
That's a
doing
theory
more
right there.
incremental.
Yeah.
What do you got here?
Do you have Kit Kats for me?
Looks like you brought a jacket. What are you doing
Hi.
here?
Ross is here.
Ross is just wandering into the studio.
Well, you know what?
I
If
just
you
said
don't
having
have
to get Kit
I'm
Kats.
sorry. If you don't have a Kit Kat with you, your presence is not welcome here.
Yeah.
I have a headache. Probably
So
from
they
not
won't.
having a Kit
They
Kat.
won't tell me. I mean, I called Google and I was like, tell me the story of like how this licensing deal, right? Trademark nerd, and they gave me this whole long story. And I was like, so what's in KitKat? They're like, we're not announcing those details yet.
It's
So they literally. So I think
I'll
they
tell you what's
announced
in
it.
Kit Kat. One layer is a crispy wafer.
Yeah, oh God.
There's another layer
Have you
of
seen
caramel.
the KitKat website?
You mean the new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Which
did
is
like
crazy.
they did like a huge HTML5 like
Yeah,
crazy
Which, by the way,
product.
100% convinced Google made that for them. There's no way that KitKat
mean, maybe
has
they
like,
did.
web designers.
Kit Kat must be like, how did we luck into this insane?
That would be the best job ever. The
No,
web
no,
designer
I mean-
at KitKat.
Can I just say though, like, never before has the Kit Kat brand been so exposed
Yeah.
to such a fresh new audience.
That's true. I've eaten more Kit Kats
Where's
in the
my
last
Kit
3
Kat, bro?
days.
Okay, let's keep moving. What else do we need to know about Kit
Oh,
Kat?
he's got them.
What else do we want to say about Kit Kat?
Nothing. You're gonna eat a Kit Kat now. Yeah, I'm gonna show the people the thing. Don't eat it, David.
I'm going to eat it. I feel like I just told you this.
Come to me.
I feel like you did too, and I'm going to help.
Like, this
No,
is.
we're not eating this Kit Kat.
I was very
This one
upfront
is-
about that.
This one is special.
What
You
are we?
guys
We're
can share
number
that one.
47. You think that means something?
I don't know. There's only 500 of these, and we're not eating it. It's delicious. So they sent me this.
Wait, so this is
Do you want
And
to
so
share this?
They
Oh my
told
God.
me. They told me a hilarious story. This is a chocolate Kit Kat, and so Google's story about
You
this.
need to put
Kit
that in the
Kat-
freezer, man.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with it. I have no idea how to preserve a Kit Kat.
freezer.
So Google's story. I'm like, tell me more about this thing. You know, it's so funny.
Can I open this one?
Yeah, go nuts. That
You
one
sure?
you can buy in stores everywhere.
Hold on. Let me pre-crack.
You're a pre-cracker.
Yeah, because then you don't have to get it all over your
I-
hands.
I don't
Hey,
even
Evan,
respect
could
you
we get
anymore.
a napkin in here?
Who eats Kit Kats with a napkin?
Can I get a fork, a knife, and a fork, and a porcelain?
And a blender.
So they're lying about the special chocolate Kit Kat, the Android one. They were like, it took a team working in secret weeks to develop this kit. I'm like, no, it didn't. Like, don't you guys make Kit Kats?
Oh my god!
No, that's why the design has never changed. They don't know how.
Well-
They had to hire like a whole new company to make a different
God.
kind of Kit Kat.
this is so good.
They're good, right?
Should we give away this last one?
If the version of Android is half as good as this actual Kit Kat bar,
By the way, can
it'll
I
be
make,
the best operating system
can I make
ever.
this super obvious joke?
No, I already ate it.
Well, there's one piece left.
I will eat the last one with a knife and a fork if you want me to.
I do.
Bring that over here.
I do want that to happen. There you
I
go.
don't know. Anybody else need a napkin?
No, so Kit Kat is like
Or just squeeze this out of here.
an ultra fragmented candy, which is hilarious. It's made by Hershey in America. It's made by Nestle everywhere else.
Well, that's not that unusual.
That's super unusual. They licensed the name to like 2 different companies.
Okay, this can be done.
Yeah.
God, you're so
I
dainty.
cannot believe what you're doing right
You're missing this. Yeah, okay, here we go.
Somebody needs to be Snapchatting this right now. Oh, man.
now. I can do that.
Thank you. This is very important.
I can make that happen.
This is the way to do it, guys. This is how they do in classy places. You go to the Russian tea room, they give you a KitKat with a knife and a fork.
It's true. It's probably pre-cut, though. If you go to the Russian tea room. You get like a steak knife. It just goes right through it.
I pity the person who has to watch this broadcast. I really do. For several reasons. One, it's terrible. One of our worst ever. Second, you have to watch me eat this delicious, nutritious KitKat wafer. Do you want me to...
Yeah, just
You
start,
need to-
start at the start. Hold on. I'm vining this up. All
You better hurry up. There's
right, here we go. Let's do it.
Not a lot of
Top to
KitKat
bottom. You
left.
got 6 seconds. Hurry up.
what do you... No, that's very good.
Worth it.
I'm just going to power this last piece.
Super.
All right. Good vine, everybody.
Thank you, Evan. You're a wonderful man. Take those and put them in the incinerator.
Are we done?
I don't think so.
Is there more?
We had some great pieces this week. Oh, I don't know if you saw it. You might have seen my tweet at 420 about the Snoop Dogg piece.
Oh
Sorry,
my God, this is
Snoop
like the most
Lion.
important thing that's ever happened to you.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even cover this. Snoop Lion retweeted me and tweeted at me today, and then followed me.
Yeah.
So my life is complete. I can die.
Yeah, I mean,
now.
you're good.
If I die
did it.
immediately after this broadcast, I will have lived the fullest life I could possibly have lived.
It's the most popular thing ever to be on Vine.
And then, so we had this great piece about Snoop's media,
Yeah.
like multimedia empire. You should read it. It's called Snoop Contains Multitudes.
It's a doggy dog
Trent
world.
Wolbe, the sick,
Yeah.
good friend, Trent Wolbe did the piece. It's very good. We had a bunch of stuff. I'm going to draw a blank now on the things we had go up this week because we had so
Yeah,
much
there was
news
a lot.
this week.
Detours, Hallmark.
Oh yeah, new detours going to Hallmark, where Hallmark's trying to
I'm gonna be honest.
reclaim,
That video was kind of depressing.
trying to
Super
reclaim,
depressing.
trying to reclaim their crown from e-cards.
This is insane, by the way. Neeli is literally taking over the internet on Vine.
This is just Vine, people liking the KitKat video on Vine.
Oh, you know what we should talk about is Chrome apps.
Oh, we should.
I think
yeah.
Chrome apps are awesome.
Chrome. So Chrome
Do it.
is now a real OS that has like apps that run
Is
offline.
that true?
They're
of
like
true.
windowed apps that run when you're
Yeah.
not on the internet. So what?
So the problem is that's really good for things that work fine as simple browser pages. It's like Pocket and Wunderlist and a bunch of others work fine, but
Yeah.
then anything like you can't get much more intense and have it still work
Why?
well in HTML. I mean, how many good offline HTML apps are there?
I don't know. I haven't used any new Chrome apps yet.
Right.
The
What are you-
answer's,
what are you
like,
saying?
None. I'm saying as soon as it gets complicated, it
falls
stumbles.
down.
Yeah.
And
Do
actually,
you know that for a fact?
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of like Mac apps even that are basically just wrappers around HTML5 apps, and
Like
they just
Mailplane.
stumble. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they just like it's a nice idea.
These are a little bit more in depth than that.
a
These are a little
They
bit more
are.
developed than that.
They are well, and it sucks because Google.
These are coded to be standalone.
They
Right.
are, but like even when I see an app on the iPhone that it's a web view,
Yeah.
a lot of Android apps are
You
web
start to
views.
throw up
Right.
immediately.
The Gmail app on the iPhone, which I use every day, is a web view,
Ugh, terrible.
and it like falls down all the time.
I agree, but
Right.
these aren't just web views.
no, these should be better than that,
Right. Yeah.
Which is good.
I mean, they are not just like, hey, we put like an instance in a browser page and that's
Right,
it.
right.
Like these are actually, what is that hammering?
It's hammering.
Well, I know. I mean,
They're building a building next to us. I don't know if you know this.
it's hammering.
Really?
Hammering.
Really, the thing I just asked about.
Yeah,
It is what it
it's,
is. It is what I asked about.
Yeah.
Great. Problem solved. Anyhow, but it is. This is what I'll say about the Chrome OS thing. Interesting development because it suggests that Google recognizes the need for
Yeah.
actual applications, not just like these, like, hey, everything's cool and hanging out in
Right.
the browser and just you're always
And it
online.
dispels this notion that
It's like, I'm
Chrome
on a
OS only
plane.
works if you're online.
And
which is
playing
I
it,
really
really
this
do
sucks.
think
Yeah.
that I
Is it
think
you offline Gmail?
They
Is it
have
like-
like a really janky offline Gmail service. I don't know how it is. I don't know if it,
Why
what
wouldn't
happened
they
today
build
has
that?
changed any
Like
of it.
all your emails stored offline.
That
Like,
would
go
be
check it out.
spectacular.
Like,
That's all I
please-
want in the world.
Please do that for
Yeah.
me.
yeah.
I'll give
well,
you
here's what I don't-
$100.
Here's what
in cash right now.
I think they know. I think they have to know that their opportunity to kill Microsoft is at hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is like the moment to do.
Is this I mean, I'll say this: the Chromebook, the Samsung Chromebook, that's like $250. Last time I looked, was the #1 laptop notebook, #1 seller on Amazon, and had been on that list for like some ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah.
like 300 days on the top 100 list.
Yeah.
So that's like telling.
But it's really cheap. I think people are buying it as their second computer.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of people with Chromebooks.
Really?
Like
Yeah.
Starbucks. Yeah, I've seen several people at coffee shops with Chromebooks.
Huh.
You gotta get out there.
I don't want to. I don't
Gotta
want
get out there. Get
Neil
yourself a
doesn't drink
Sumatra.
coffee.
Get
I don't know
a
if you've seen my
Sumatra.
15-inch laptop.
Neil, I
with
just drinks
with a
K-Cups
DVD drive
at home.
I just want
soup. K-cups of soup.
The soup K-cup is the worst. It's the grossest. I won't allow flavored coffees or tea in our machine because I don't want to taint my pure coffee.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You got to get a separate
You know,
machine
tea
for the
is
flavors.
just like water, right? You just
Yeah,
like run water through and put a tea bag
I
in
would
it.
consider if it wasn't like a
Like a flavored
an
tea.
English breakfast, which is quite pungent.
Sure.
No, an English breakfast.
Earl Grey.
Yeah, Earl Grey. Thank you. Which is pungent. English breakfast is actually fine, pretty mild. Or like some flowery, weird sort of,
Like if you get chamomile in my
sleepy
coffee,
time. Yeah,
I will end
Did you say chamomile?
Is it chamomile? It's
chamomile.
chamomile. That's definitely like a
Callie
caramel.
talking about
The
that?
chamomile is.
I would think
the
that- I would
chamomile
think-
is a race that like army guys run.
Chamomile.
They run in camo.
They do it on a camel.
Yeah. Right.
Army guys
In
on a camel.
camo on a camel.
Got
running
it.
Camel mile. Camel mile. That didn't make any sense.
0 cents.
Is there anything else we need to talk about?
Nope.
Anything else that's coming up?
No, just next week.
Next
You're going on
week,
vacation.
Apple.
Apple stuff.
I'm be vacating.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
You
great.
can get CBS if you have time.
Oh,
Warner.
CBS is back on Time Warner, guys, so you can continue
You know
to
why?
avoid
'Cause
the
football
shows that you
starts
hate.
today. That's why.
You can continue to not watch those shows.
Yeah.
But they are the most popular network in America.
And America's doomed. Hammering's back.
Hammering's increasing in volume and in proximity, from what I can tell. It's
Evan
like that
Rogers
scene.
is just
It's like that
walking
scene
around.
in Aliens when they're like tracking the shapes, and
Yeah.
it's like, game over, man. All right, and that's our Vergecast.
That's whatever happened.
We didn't take
just
any
now.
calls.
I'm sorry.
Should we take one? Is there any? Can we just take one angry Microsoft fan?
No, please don't do that to me.
Steve Ballmer. If he were to, could Steve Ballmer call in?
I think Steve Balmer just has like a private line to the Vergecast. That's
All right,
that's
we're
actually
gonna
Steve
wrap up.
Ballmer with a hammer.
Yeah.
That's the
outside.
Vergecast for this week. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us at vergecast@theverge.com. You can leave a comment in the post. You could go on the forums and create a forum item.
Yeah.
You can also find us on Twitter. The Verge is at Verge. I'm Joshua Topolsky. Neil I is Reckless. David is Pierce David. Why
Every
not?
time.
Huh? At
Every
Pierce
time.
David. Yeah, pierce him. Pierce him to death.
Listen, you call at David Pierce and tell him to give me his Twitter handle, and I'll
David
be
Pierce,
a happy guy.
you are on notice.
Yeah.
He lives in Phoenix.
Wow, you've
I know
really
this
done
guy.
some cyber
We're
stalking.
bros on Twitter.
Give David Pierce his handle, or he will hurt you emotionally. I'm not even. I don't even have anything to say here. I'm
I know,
so
that was-
exhausted.
There's
Anyhow,
a lot of gadgets
We'll be
out
back.
It's tough.
We'll be back next week with more Verge casting. And until then, I think we're all going to be all right.
I actually don't know about that.
We're coming for you.
Oh.